Pictured is my great-grandfather Besaronis Djugashvili, a native of what is now Gippsland. The teenage boyfriend and first long-term sexual partner of Tsarina Alexandra Feodorova the Romanov. Father of Tsarina Alexandra Feodorova the Romanov's firstborn child, Ioseb Stalin Djugashvili, born when Alexandra was 17. Ioseb, nicknamed Stalin, my grandfather, was a Romanov, but ineligible to be a Romanov royal prince due to the legal circumstances of his birth and the pregnancy. My great-grandfather Besaronis Djugashvili died in jail in the 1930s, a hero to some, after being sentenced to a life without parole jail sentence for 8 counts of murder in 1918. He executed 8 impostors pretending to be my Romanov family royals in 1917 in a well-known incident in a partially underground wine cellar. The executions were after he discovered his former lover partner Tsarina Alexandra, her husband Nicholas Hohenzollern II, and their 6 eligible Romanov royal children, who he all knew personally, had been abducted and murdered in 1916. My grandfather Ioseb, Stalin, was the only surviving child of the Tsarina to live to adulthood and have children. I am Ioseb's only legitimate grandchild. I have no legitimate descendants. Tsarina Alexandra and her royal family were abducted after a publicity photography shoot in 1916, scheduled for images to use for days like Christmas, New Year, Easter, royal days, holidays, national days, etc. It was a slightly comical group of photography sessions where the Romanov royals regularly changed costumes and used non-authentic props like fake tiaras and tin-foil swords and completed a whole year worth of publicity images in the one photo shoot. They regularly had to attempt to keep a straight face when the images were taken, trying not to laugh. The photography crew hired for the photo shoot was from the country Turkey. The crew abducted them after the almost a week-long photo shoot was over. The perpetrators of the abductions kept the clothing and props. The Romanov royals were then handed over to terrorism groups associated with evil fake physicist lunatic Albert Einstein. All 8 were murdered by the end of 1916. Besaronis and Tsarina Alexandra's son Ioseb, Stalin Djugashvili, was at boarding school in Georgia when his maternal family members were abducted and murdered. He was unaware the incidents had happened until contacted about his father Besaronis' arrest for 8 counts of murder in 1917. He was still in boarding school in Georgia when his father was charged and scheduled for trial. My Romanov family's constitutional monarchy was declared presumed permanently vacant at the time. The remaining 2 royal children's remains were found and identified via DNA testing during 1991. When the remains of my grandauntie Princess Anastasia and granduncle Prince Ivanovich were identified via DNA testing, it confirmed me as the sole legitimately descended possibility to become a Romanov royal, inherit the private estate, and become Tsar of Russia. As I had always been considered since my grandfather Ioseb added me to his estate document as a beneficiary when I was 3, in 1975. After his father was sentenced to life without parole in 1918, my grandfather Ioseb went on to become General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union and Premier of the Soviet Union, political head of state, until an attempt to steal his identity in 1953. He was erroneously reported dead after the incident, where he lost one eye and was seriously disfigured in the face. The person who tried to steal his identity was put on display lying in state, with a huge, big nostrils hook nose that looked absolutely nothing like my grandfather's. My grandfather Ioseb was a quadriplegic starting August 1939. The person who tried to steal his identity was able-bodied and could walk upright. People who have similar noses to the dead imposter have been recruited to stalk me all my life, including one female who used to pretend to be my niece. Ioseb eventually moved to Kazakhstan permanently, where he lived for the rest of his life. He died in 1979, aged 98. I inherited his entire Russian-based estate in 1982, after his 2 living legitimate children, my auntie Svetlana Djugashvili, who accepted only money and had no legitimate descendants, and my mother Judith, both declined to collect everything else. Auntie Svetlana died within a year of her father. The Djugashvili estate is all officially in my name and not transferable. I have been illegally deprived of access to my Russian-based Djugashvili estate since 1982. My mother Judith died in 2018, leaving me as the only remaining legitimate Romanov family member. The Romanov Royal Family monarchy was reclassified, with the presumed permanently vacant tag officially removed in January 2023.